Hi, howdy, cowpoke. It is Sunday morning. Sunday morning. Every day for all I care. It's actually Sunday morning. This is when I used to go to mass when I was a kid. I think. I think I went to the 8 o'clock at Our Lady's or what was the one? St. Ignatius. I used to go to. I was in a dancer's Christmas. That's where I learned my moves. A dancer's Christmas. This is the book of Joshua. We're starting the book. We're starting Josh's book. I was kind of sick of listening to Moses, honestly. He was special. We just ended with him talking about how he was special and he was unlike any other prophet because he talked directly to God. So it's like we're playing telephone increasingly as we go to these later chapters. I was really excited about getting to Jesus, but the New Testament's kind of short. Most of this is just Old Testament, so we're gonna be chosen people for I don't know how long. I wanted to be Jesus on Christmas. That was my low key plan. Was like, okay, we're gonna get Jesus born on Christmas, but I'm gonna have to get through. We're 247. I think it's like 1,500 pages before New Testament starts. New Testament's only like 480 pages. This would have been so much easier if I just did New Testament. We'd be almost done. Anyway, but that's not how books work. You can't just read. You can't just read what you want to read. I mean, you can. You can not read at all. You can just go on your screen and just consume the crack algorithm. This is me trying not to do that. I can always do that. Anybody can always do that. Most people just do that. But I thought it would be interesting if at the end of this, I somewhat understand what's in this book. So, anyway, here's chapter 1, God's commission to Joshua. After the death of Moses, the servant of the Lord said to Joshua, the son of Nun, Moses' minister, Moses, my servant is dead. Now therefore arise, go over this Jordan, you and all this people, into the land which I am giving up to them, into the land which I am giving to them, to the people of Israel. Every place that the sole of your foot will tread upon, I have given you, as I promised to Moses. Every place that the sole of your foot will tread upon, I have given to you, as I promised to Moses. From the wilderness in this Lebanon, as far as the great river, the river Euphrates, all the land of the Hittites, the great sea, toward the going down of the sun shall be your territory. Toward the going down of the sun. So the sun rises in the east, sets in the west. So we're in Lebanon. So modern day, this is slightly east of where I assume Lebanon still is. Lebanon probably was bigger. It's interesting that Lebanon still exists. All these other countries are long gone, but the Lebanese are they're party, dude. There's a sick Lebanese Middle Eastern place that I go to. It's near where my mom lives. And they have delicious beef shawarma. Decent falafel. Falafel's nothing to write home about. But the shawarma is legitimately worth standing in line for. I think it's called Taste of Lebanon. Anyway, every place that the soul, our sponsor is Bowflex. So it's actually a Bowflex infomercial that I used to watch at 3 in the morning. From the wilderness in this Lebanon, as far as the great river, the river Euphrates, land of the Hittites, the great sea going down where the sun sets. No man shall be able to stand before you all the days of his life. As I was with Moses, so I will be with you. I'll be with thee. I will not fail you or forsake you. That's good. Be strong and of good courage, for you shall cause people to inherit this land, which I swore to their fathers to give them. Only be strong and very courageous, being careful to do according to all the law which Moses my servant commanded you. Turn not from it to the right hand or the left, that you may have good success wherever you go. This book of the law shall not depart out of your mouth, but you shall meditate on it day and night. We're doing fucking meditations already. that you may be careful to do according to all that is written in it. For then you shall make your way prosperous, and then you shall have good success. Have I not commanded you? Be strong of good courage, be not frightened, neither dismayed, for the Lord your God is with you wherever you go. Wherever you go, whatever you do, I'll be watching you. God will be. And meditate on it. Take some deep breaths, think about stuff. It's a good idea. You don't have to worship Siddhartha to meditate. You can worship this guy. This guy who's talking to Josh. He used to talk to Moses. Preparations for the invasion. Here we go. Then Joshua commanded the officers of the people, pass through the camp and command the people. Prepare your provisions, for within 3 days you are to pass over the Jordan, to go in, take possession of the land which the Lord your God gives you to possess. There's still Jordan, I think. There's still a Jordan country. Probably. I don't know. Maybe it's like the United Arab, like social, like maybe it's like one of those. They changed. The Reubenites, the Gadites, the half tribe of the Manasseh, Josh said, remember the word which Moses, the servant of the Lord, commanded you, saying, the Lord is providing you with a place of rest and will give you this land. Your wives, your little ones, and your cattle shall remain in the land which Moses gave you beyond the Jordan. But all the men of valor among you shall pass over armed before your brethren and shall help them, until the Lord gives rest to your brethren, as well as to you, and they also take possession of the land, which the Lord your God is giving them. Then you shall return to the land of your possession and shall possess it, the land which Moses, the servant of the Lord, gave you beyond the Jordan toward the sunrise. And they answered Joshua, all that you have commanded us we will do. Wherever you send us, we will go. Just as we obeyed Moses in all things, so we will obey you. Only may the Lord your God be with you, and also with you, and as he was with Moses. Whoever rebels against your commandment and disobeys your words, whatever you command him shall be put to death. Only be strong and of good courage. Spies sent to Jericho. Okay, we're getting spies in here. And Joshua, the son of Nun, sent 2 men secretly from Shittim. Shittim. That sounds like a lousy place. Shittim. As spies, saying, go view the land, especially Jericho. Okay, so Shittim is spying on Jericho. And they went and came into the house of a harlot, whose name was Rahab, and lodged there. And it was told the king of Jericho, behold, certain men of Israel have come here tonight to search out this land. Then the king of Jericho sent to Rahab, said, bring forth the men that have come to you, who entered your house, for they have come to search out all the land. But the women had taken 2 men from the women have taken 2 men and hidden them. She said, True, men came to me, but I did not know where they came from. When the gate was to be closed at dark, the men went out. Where the men went, I did not know. Pursue them quickly, for they will overtake you. But she had brought them up to the roof and hid them with stalks of flax, which she laid in order on the roof. Got flax seeds. We're getting our omega-3s from non-fish sources already. So the men pursued after them on the way to the Jordan as far as the fords. And as soon as the pursuers had gone out, the gate was shut. Before they lay down, she came up to them on the roof and said to them, I know that the Lord has given you the land, and that the fear of you has fallen upon us, and that all the inhabitants of this land melt away before you. For we have heard how the Lord dried up the waters of the Red Sea before you when you came out of Egypt, what you did to the 2 kings of the Amorites that were beyond the Jordan, the Sihon and the Og, whom you utterly destroyed. We destroyed the Og and the Sihon. And that As soon as we heard that, our hearts melted, and there was no courage left in any man because of you. For the Lord your God is he who is in heaven above and on earth beneath. Okay, so God is also beneath, above and beneath, as above. So now, then, swear to me by the Lord that as I have dealt kindly with you, you will also deal kindly with my father's house. Give me a sure sign and save alive my father, my mother, my brothers and sisters, all who belong to them, and deliver our lives from death. And the men said to her, our life is yours. If you do not tell this business of ours, then we will deal kindly and faithfully with you when the Lord gives us. For her house was built into the city wall, so she dwelt in that wall. She's in a wall. This chick is like OG Rapunzel. We killed OG. She said to them, go into the hills, lest the pursuers meet you, and hide yourselves there 3 days until the pursuers have returned. And afterward you may go up your way. You may go your way. You could go your own way. The men said to her, you will be guiltless with respect to this oath of yours which you made us swear. Behold, when we come into the land, you shall bind the scarlet cord in the window, which you let us down. You shall gather into your house father and mother, your brothers, all of your father's household. If anyone goes out of the doors of your house into the street, his blood shall be upon his head, and we shall be guiltless. If a hand is laid upon anyone who is with you in the house, his blood shall be on your head, or on our head. So it will be on both of our heads. If a hand is laid upon him in the house, if he goes out in the street and somebody hurts him or kills him, it's on you. Okay. But if you tell this business of ours, we shall be guiltless with respect to your oath which you've made us swear. And he said, according to words, so be it. Word. Then she sent them away, and they departed. She bound the scarlet cord to the window. They departed and went into the hills, remained there 3 days, until the pursuers returned. For the pursuers had made search all along the way, and found nothing. Then 2 men came down from the hills and passed over them, came to Joshua the son of Nun, and they told him that they had befallen him. They said to Joshua, truly the Lord has given us all the land into our hands. Moreover, all the inhabitants of the land are faint-hearted because of us. Israel crosses the Jordan. Early in the morning, Joshua rose and set out from Shittim with all the people of Israel, and they came to the Jordan and lodged there before they passed over. At the end of the 3 days, the officers went into the camp and commanded the people. When you see the Ark of the Covenant, you see the Ark of the Covenant of the Lord your God being carried by the Levitical priests, then you shall set out from your place and follow it, that you may know the way you shall go. For you have not passed this way before. Yet there shall be a space between you and it, a distance of about 2,000 cubits. Do not come near it. You got to stay 2,000 cubits away from the Ark of the Covenant. You've not been there before. There's a place where you are going you ain't never been before. No one laughing at your back now. No one standing at your door. Is that what you thought love was for? Joshua said to the people, sanctify yourselves, for tomorrow the Lord will do wonders among you. And Joshua said to the priests, take up the Ark of the Covenant and pass on before the people. And they took up the Ark of the Covenant and went before the people. And the Lord said to Joshua, this day I will begin to exalt you in sight of all Israel. They may know that, as I was with Moses, so I will be with you. And you shall command the priests who bear the Ark of the Covenant. When you come to the brink of the waters of the Jordan, you shall stand still in the Jordan. Give me that cold water. Give me that. It's called Jordan. Better take Jesus with you. He's your true companion, for I'm sure without him that you never will make it home. called Jordan. Look at its deep waters. Look at that wide river. Anybody tell us no, you never make Jesus with you. He's your true companion. When you come to the brink of the waters of the Jordan, you shall stand still in the Jordan. And Joshua said to the people of Israel, come hither, hear the word of the Lord your God. Joshua said, hereby you shall know that the living God, is among you, and he will without fail drive you before the Canaanites, the Hivites, the Hittites, the Perizzites, the Girgashites, the Amorites, and the Jebusites. Behold, the ark of the covenant, the Lord of all earth, is to pass over to you into the Jordan. Now, therefore, take 12 men from the tribes of Israel, from each tribe a man, and when the soles of the feet of the priests who bear the ark of the Lord of all earth, shall rest in waters of the Jordan, the waters of the Jordan shall be stopped from flowing. The water's going to stop when you get 12 the tribe heads standing in it, and the waters coming down from above shall stand in one heap. So there's water that's coming down when you get the 12 kings of these people. The water is going to stop. So this is a pretty cool miracle. So when the people set out from their tents to pass over the Jordan, with the priests bearing the ark of the covenant before the people, when those who bore the ark had come to the Jordan, the feet of the priests bearing the ark were dipped in the brink of water. The Jordan overflows all its banks throughout the time of harvest. The waters coming down from above stood and rose up in a heap far off. In Adam, the city is beside Zarethan, and these flowing down towards the sea of Arabah, the salt sea, whose wholly cut off. And the people passed over opposite Jericho. I think the salt sea is the Dead Sea, and I think the Red Sea is a different sea. I was trying to earlier when they were talking about Red Sea, I was like, is that Dead Sea? But I don't think we're in this part of the world yet. I think the Red Sea was. I think there might be a Red Sea. I don't know, man. I don't know, dude. I'm just a fucking basic bitch. I got my fresh Starbucks. And I'm reading the most popular book ever. Because nobody wants to do a book club. Anyway, I've been trying to do book club. So I'm just going to do the most popular books. Because that's a thing I don't think people have started doing on here yet, is literally reading books. And it's actually a far better form of entertainment than staring at screens. You guys can watch the screens of me reading a book if you want. That's the only thing I have to put on a screen. I have some other things I want to put on screens, but maybe not these screens, That's the only thing I have for YouTube, social media. Is you like 30 seconds? Have you seen 250 hours of a guy reading a book and not looking at the camera? So when the people set out their tents to pass over the Jordan, with the priests bearing an ark of the covenant before the people, and when those who bore the ark had come to the Jordan, the feet of the priests bearing the ark were dipped in the brink of water. The Jordan overflows all its banks throughout the time of harvest. The waters coming down above stood and rose up in a heap far off at Adam, that city which is beside Zarethan, and those flowing down toward the sea of Arabah, the salt sea, were wholly cut off, and the people passed over opposite Jericho. And while all Israel were passing over dry ground, the priests bore the ark of the covenant of the Lord and stood on dry ground in the midst of the Jordan until the nation finished passing over Jordan. Okay, at this point, I think I have to talk about Jericho. Chris Jericho is a fine wrestler in World Championship Wrestling. Eventually, it was in WWF with a countdown. His finishing move was called the Walls of Jericho. Also, Jericho is the worst band album. It's later. I don't even think Robbie Robertson's on it, or some members missing. I know Levon's on it because he sings the Bruce Springsteen cover, but it has a Bruce Springsteen cover on it. That's how bad Jericho is. They're covering the bands that ripped off the band. Jericho's not a good album. Decent biblical story so far, though. Oh, Jordan is a great song. When all the nation had finished passing over the Jordan, the Lord said to Joshua, "Take 12 men from the people, from each tribe a man, and command them, take 12 stones from here out of the midst of the Jordan, from the very place where the priest's feet stood. Carry them over to you, lay them down in the place where you lodge tonight." Then Joshua called the 12 men from the people of Israel, whom he had appointed, a man from each tribe. And Joshua said to them, "Pass on before the ark of the Lord your God into the midst of the Jordan. Take up each of you a stone upon his shoulder, according to the number of tribes of people in Israel, that this may be a sign among you. When your children come in time to ask, 'What do these stones mean to you?' then you shall tell them, 'The waters of the Jordan were cut off before the ark of the covenant of the Lord. When it passed over the Jordan, the waters of Jordan were cut off. So these stones shall be to the people of Israel a memorial forever." And the men of Israel did what Joshua commanded. Took up 12 stones out of the midst of the Jordan, according to the number of tribes of the people of Israel. As the Lord told Joshua, they carried them over with them to the place where they lodged and laid them down there. And Joshua set up 12 stones in the midst of the Jordan, in the place where the feet of the priests bearing the ark of the covenant stood to this day. And they are there to this day. So those 12 stones are still in the Jordan that the tribe heads, the Ark of the Covenant. So maybe there's an Ark of the Covenant with 12 stones. I wonder what stones. It's got to be stones that were in the river. I don't think they're like smuggling over rubies to put. For the priests who bore the ark stood in the midst of the Jordan until everything was finished. The Lord commanded Joshua to tell the people, according to all Moses commanded Joshua, people have passed over in haste. When all the people had finished passing over the ark of the Lord, the priests passed over before the people. The sons of Reuben, the sons of Gad, the half tribe of the Manasseh, passed over armed before the people of Israel. Moses had bidden them, about 40,000 ready and armed for war, passed over before the Lord for battle to the plains of Jericho. On that day, the Lord exalted Joshua in the sight of all Israel. They stayed in awe of him, and they stood in awe of Moses, as they stood in awe of Moses. Okay, so they're in awe of Joshua as they were in awe of Moses, because Joshua is the new mouthpiece for this one God that we have. And the Lord said to Joshua, "Command the priests who bear the ark of testimony to come up out of the Jordan." Joshua therefore commanded the priests, "Come up out of the Jordan." And the priests bearing the ark of the covenant of the Lord came up from the midst of the Jordan. As the sole priest's feet were lifted up on dry ground, the waters of the Jordan returned to their place and overflowed all its banks as before. The people came up out of the Jordan on the 10th day of the first month. They encamped in Gilgal, the east border of Jericho. Those 12 stones, which they took out of the Jordan, Joshua set up in Gilgal. I don't know how you pronounce Gilgal. And he said to the people of Israel, "When your children ask their fathers in time to come, 'What do these stones mean?' then you shall let your children know, Israel passed over the Jordan on dry ground. For the Lord your God dried up the waters of the Jordan for you until you passed over, as the Lord your God did to you in the Red Sea, which he dried up until we passed over, so that all the peoples of earth may know that the hand of the Lord is mighty, and that you may fear the Lord your God forever." Be scared of God forever and ever, because he parted the seas so that the 12 tribes could make the Ark of the Covenant, guys. What, are you new? You're not scared of God yet? The new generation circumcised. When all the kings of the Amorites that were beyond the Jordan of the west, all the kings of the Canaanites that were by the sea, heard that the Lord had dried up the waters of the Jordan for the people of Israel until they had crossed over, their heart melted. Lots of heart melting going on. And there was no longer any spirit in them because of the people of Israel. The Ark of the Covenant seems to melt things in the Spielberg movie. At the time the Lord said to Joshua, make flint knives and circumcise the people of Israel again the second time. You have to make flint knives and circumcise the people of Israel again the second time. I think he's circumcising new people that haven't been circumcised. I hope he's not double circumcising people. So Joshua made flint knives and circumcised the people of Israel at Gibeah Haraloth. Gibeah Haraloth. Gibeah Haraloth. Gibeah Haraloth. And this is the reason why Joshua circumcised them. All the males of the people who came out of Egypt, all the men of war, had died out on the way in the wilderness after they had come out of Egypt. Though all the people who came out had been circumcised, yet all the people that were born on the way in the wilderness after they'd come out of Egypt had not been circumcised. Okay, so he's circumcising the ones who haven't yet. At least he's not like, I thought we first trans operations in Josh here. For the people of Israel walked 40 years in the wilderness. Lots of 40s, lots of 3s, lots of 40s. 3s, 5s, 7s, 40s. Sort of 10s, sort of 12s. 10, 12. Yeah, this is an interesting number system. Seems pretty obvious to me that they're trying to do something with the way that they're organizing numerics. For the people of Israel walked 40 years in the wilderness. All the nation, the men of war that came forth out of Egypt perished, because they did not hearken to the voice of the Lord. To them the Lord swore that he would not let them see the land which the Lord had sworn to their fathers, to give us a land flowing with milk and honey. So it was their children whom he raised up in their stead that Joshua circumcised, for they were uncircumcised because they had not been circumcised on the way. When the circumcising of all the nation was done, they remained in their places in the camp till they were healed. And then Joshua said to Joshua, the Lord said to Joshua, Joshua's not talking to himself, God's talking to Joshua, this day I have rolled away rolled away the reproach of Egypt from you. Rolled away from you. Roll away the reproach. Roll away the reproach of Egypt. So the name of this place is called Gilgal to this day. It's not called Gilgal to this day. Lord, we changed the name of Gilgal. I don't think there's still a Gilgal. Maybe there is. Maybe it's like a city. I don't know what the fuck a city in like Jordan is. I don't know anything about Africa and the Middle East. I haven't been there. The Passover at Gilgal. While the people of Israel were encamped in Gilgal, they kept the Passover on the 14th day of the month at evening in the plains of Jericho. And on the morrow, so happy on the morrow's back. This is why I Bible, baby. On the morrow. See you guys on the morrow. Doing this daily now because it takes me forever to read anything. On the morrow, after the Passover, on that very day they ate the produce of the land, unleavened cakes and parched grain, and the manna ceased on the morrow when they ate the produce of the land. The people of Israel had manna no more, but ate the fruit of the land of Canaan that year. I wonder if they have like the tabbouleh and fucking chopped salad shit yet. When they're talking about the produce, just comparing it to like, I don't like tabbouleh is gross. Whatever that herb is that's in it, there's too much of that. When Joshua was by Jericho, oh, this is Joshua's vision. Josh is gonna have a vision. Sweet. We're getting some like God shots for Josh here. Joshua was by Jericho. He lifted his eyes up and looked. Behold, a man stood before him with his sword drawn in his hand. Joshua went to him and said, are you for us or for our adversaries? This is like Krishna, like the Sojourner of Adjourna. It's like, dude, is it? Anyway. And he said, "No, but as commander of the army of the Lord, I have now come." Okay, I want to read this again. This is a vision. This is important. So a man stood with his sword drawn. Josh asks him, "Are you for us or for our enemies?" Basically. And he said, "No." You say no to, is he saying no to both? No, but as commander of the army of the Lord, I've now come. And Joshua fell on his face to the earth and worshipped and said to him, "What does my Lord bid his servant?" And the commander of the Lord's army said to Joshua, "Put off your shoes from your feet, for the place where you stand is holy." And Joshua did so. That's a weird vision. His vision was a guy comes up, he's going to kill him with a sword. He's like, "I only serve God. Are you with us or are you with our enemies?" And he's like, "Take off your shoes. You're standing on holy stuff and making it dirty." That's the entire vision. Jericho taken and destroyed. Okay, so I guess he interpreted that as God's for sure with me. Now Jericho was shut up from within and from without, within you and without you. Because of the people of Israel, none went out, none came in. No ins and outs. I got this pregnant snake. And the Lord said to Joshua, "I hope death grips us in this. See, I have given to you into your hand, Jericho, with its king and mighty men of valor. You shall march around the city, all the men of war going around the city at once. Thus you shall do for 6 days, and 7 priests shall bear 7 trumpets of ram's horns before the ark. On the 7th day you shall march around the city 7 times, the priests blowing the trumpets. And when they make a long blast with the ram's horn, as soon as you hear the sound of the trumpet, then all of the people shall shout with a great shout, and the walls of the city will fall down flat. And the people shall go up every man straight before him. Break the wall down." Any Chris Jericho fans? So Joshua, the son of Nun, called the priests and said to them, "Take up the ark of the covenant, and let 7 priests bear 7 trumpets of ram's horns before the ark of the Lord." And he said to the people, "Go forward, march around the city, let the armed man pass on before the ark of the Lord." Let the armed men pass on before the ark of the Lord. And as Joshua commanded the people, the 7 priests, bearing the 7 trumpets of ram's horn before the Lord, went forward, blowing the trumpets, with the ark of the covenant of the Lord following them. And the armed men went before the priests who blew trumpets, and the rear guard came after the ark, while the trumpets blew continually. But Joshua commanded the people, "Shall not shout or let your voice be heard, neither shall any word go out of your mouth, until the day I bid you shout. Then you shall shout." Okay, so you have to shut up until I tell you to scream, then you're going to shout. So he caused the ark of the Lord to compass the city. Compass is a verb. Going about it once. Then they came to the camp, spent the night in the camp. Then Joshua rose early in the morning, and the priests at the hoary head, the priests took up the ark of the Lord, and the 7 priests, bearing the 7 trumpets of ram's horn before the ark of them, passed on before the ark of the Lord. Okay, so the ark of the covenant with the Lord. 7 priests went by the thing with the 12 stones, blowing the trumpets. The armed men went before them, and the rear guard came after the ark of the Lord, while the trumpets blew continually. And the 2nd day, they marched around the city once and returned to the camp. So they did for 6 days. On the 7th day, they rose early, the dawn of day, marched around the city in the same manner 7 times. It was only that day that they marched around the city 7 times. And the 7th time, when the priests had blown trumpets, Joshua said to the people, "Shout, for the Lord has given you the city. And the city and all that were within it shall be devoted to the Lord for destruction. Only Rahab the harlot and all who are with her shall live in only Rahab the harlot." I don't know why he's saving a harlot. God usually kills the harlot. "And those who are with her in her house shall live. Because she hid the messengers we sent. Okay, that's why. She's hiding these messengers. But you keep yourselves from the things devoted to destruction, lest when you have devoted them, you take away any of the devoted things and make the camp of Israel a thing for destruction and bring trouble upon it. But all silver and gold, vessels of bronze and iron, are sacred to the Lord. They shall go into the treasury of the Lord. So the people shouted, and the trumpets were blown. As soon as the people heard the sound of the trumpet, people raised a great shout, and the wall fell down flat, so that the people went up into the city, every man straight before him, and they took the city. Then they utterly destroyed all in the city, both men and women, young and old, oxen, sheep, and asses, with the edge of a sword. So they're killing men, women, and children of all ages because they knocked down Jericho, screaming, going around for 7 days, blowing a trumpet. And Joshua said to the two men who he had spied out of the land, "Go into the harlot's house and bring out from it the woman and all who belong to her, as you swore to her." So the young men who had been spies went in and brought out Rahab and her father and mother and brothers and all who belonged to her, and they brought out all her kindred and set them outside the camp of Israel. They burned the city with fire and all within it. Oh, so they burned to death all the remaining people. They already massacred with swords men, women, and children because God told them to. Only the silver and gold, the vessels of bronze and iron, they put into the treasury in the house of the Lord. Yeah, you got to take their stuff. But Rahab, the harlot, and her father's household, and all who belonged to her, Joshua saved alive. And she dwelt in Israel to this day because she hid the messengers whom Joshua sent out to spy out Jericho. So if you're a harlot, you don't want to be put to death by God, you got to just hide some people that God likes, and then he'll save you, even though you're a dirty harlot. Joshua laid an oath upon them at that time, saying, "Cursed before the Lord be the man that rises up and rebuilds this city, Jericho. At the cost of his firstborn shall he lay its foundation. At the cost of his youngest son shall he set up his gates." I like that. Okay, so the first one, lay its foundation. Second one, set up its gates. Not second one, whatever the last one is. We are the furthest, we are the last. Youngest and oldest. The rest of the shit's just in-betweeners. So the Lord was with Joshua, and his fame was in all the land. Setting up gates here, guys. I'm the youngest. Sin of Ashan and its punishment. But the people of Israel broke faith in regard to the devoted things, for Ashan, the son of Carmi, C-A-R-M-I, Carmi, I guess it's Carmi. It's not a very good name. Zabdi, that's more like it, son of Zerah, the tribe of Judah, took some of the devoted things, and the anger of the Lord burned against the people of Israel. Joshua sent men from Jericho to Ai. I don't know how you pronounce Ai. Jericho to Ai? I'm just going to do I like these. Which is near Bethaven, east of Bethel. And they said to them, "Go up and spy out the land." The men who went up spied out Ai, and they returned to Joshua, said to him, "Let not the people go up, but let about 2,000 or 3,000 men go up and attack Ai. Do not make the whole people toil up there, for they are but few." So about 3,000 men went up there from the people, and they fled before the men of Ai. The men of Ai killed about 36 men of them, chased them before the gate as far as Shebarim, slew them at the descent, and the hearts of the people melted and became as water. Then Joshua rents his clothes, fell upon the earth his face before the ark of the Lord until the evening. He and the elders of Israel, they put dust upon their heads. Joshua said, "Alas, O Lord God, why hast thou brought this people over the Jordan at all, to give us into the hands of the Amorites to destroy us? Would that we, I like that as a way to talk. Would that we had been content to dwell beyond the Jordan. Would that we had been content to dwell beyond the Jordan. O Lord, what can I say? When Israel has turned their backs before their enemies, for the Canaanites, all inhabitants of the land will hear of it, will surround us, and cut off our name from the earth. And what wilt thou do for thy great name? The Lord said to Joshua, Arise, why have you fallen upon your face? Israel has sinned. They have transgressed my covenant, which I commanded them. They have taken some of the devoted things. They have stolen, they've lied, and put them among their own stuff. Therefore, the people of Israel cannot stand before their enemies. They turn their backs before their enemies, because they have become a thing for destruction. I will be with you no more, unless you destroy the devoted things from among you. Up, sanctify your people, and say, Sanctify yourselves for tomorrow. For thus says the Lord, the God of Israel, there are the devoted things in the midst of you. There are devoted things in the midst of you. O Israel, you cannot stand before your enemies until you take away the devoted things from among you. In the morning, therefore, you shall be brought near by your tribes, and the tribe which the Lord takes shall come near by families, and the family which the Lord takes shall come near by households. And the household which the Lord takes, this is like if you give a mouse a cookie. Household which the Lord takes shall come near man by man, and he who is taken with the devoted things shall be burned with fire, he and all that he has, because he has transgressed the covenant of the Lord, because he has done a shameful thing in Israel. Okay, so when we were setting up the legal system earlier, the way you execute people who break the laws of God is typically lynching, but I guess if you do an offense that's like they want to make a point of it, they burn you alive at a stake. I assume like they burned witches. We already burned a bunch of witches. So Joshua rose early in the morning, brought Israel out near tribe by tribe, brought Israel near tribe by tribe, and the tribe of Judah was taken. And he brought near the families of Judah, the family of the Zerahites. Okay, I'm gonna have to say this probably more. So I'm just Zeraites, Zerites. And he brought near the family of the Zerites, man by man, I don't know. And Zabdi was taken Zabdi, dude. He brought near his household man by man, and the Ashan, the son of Carmi, son of Zabdi, son of Zerah, tribe of Judah, was taken. Then Joshua said to Ashan, my son, give glory to the Lord God of Israel, and render praise to him. Tell me now what you have done. Do not hide it from me. And Ashan answered Joshua, of a truth I have sinned against the Lord the God of Israel. This is what I did. When I saw among the spoil a beautiful mantle from Shinar, and 200 shekels of silver, and a bar of gold weighing 50 shekels, then I coveted them and took them. And behold, they were hidden in the earth inside my tent with silver underneath. You're not supposed to covet your neighbor's goods. Zerah. I understand it's a beautiful mantle, but it's Ashan, actually. Ashan is the one hiding the silver. Fucking sneaky Ashan. See what God's going to do. Joshua sent messengers, and they ran into the tent, and behold, it was hidden in the tent with the silver underneath. I got the silver. And they took them out of the tent and brought them to Joshua and all the people of Israel, and they laid them down before the Lord. And Joshua and all Israel took Ashan, son of Zerah, and the silver and the mantle and the bar of gold, and his sons and daughters, his oxen and asses, and sheep and tents, and all that he did, and they brought him before the valley of Achor. And Joshua said, why did you bring trouble on us? The Lord brings trouble on you today. And all Israel stoned him with stones. They burned him with fire and stoned them with stones. Okay, so they stoned, he was hiding the silver. So Joshua and all the chosen people stoned him to death and his family. So, like, he stole some silver and they publicly burnt to death his children. And all Israel stoned him with stones. They burned him with fire, stoned them with stones, them being his like wife and kids and stuff, I assume. And they raised over him a great heap of stones that remain to this day. Then the Lord turned from his burning anger. Therefore, to this day, the name of that place is called the Valley of Ashur. Acre, the Valley of Achor. It's probably some weird pronunciation. I captured by stratagem and destroyed. Stratagem. That's a cool word to be in here. And the Lord said to Joshua, do not fear or be dismayed. Take all the fighting men with you. Arise, go up to Ai. See, I have given you into your land the king of Ai, his people, his city, his land, and you shall do to Ai as you did to Jericho and its king. Ooh, and only its spoil and its cattle shall you take as booty. Lay an ambush against the city behind it. Okay, so now he's being more specific and saying, don't take the silver because I don't want to have to publicly murder another family of chosen people. So Joshua arose, and all the fighting men to go up to Ai. Joshua chose 30,000 mighty men of valor and sent them forth by night. And he commanded them, behold, you shall lie in ambush against the city behind it. Do not go very far from the city, but hold yourselves all in readiness. And I, all the people who are with me, will approach the city. When they come out against us, as before, we shall flee before them. They will come out after us till we have drawn them away from the city. For they will say, they are fleeing from before us. So we will flee from them. Then you shall rise up from the ambush and seize the city. For the Lord your God will give it into your hand. And when you have taken the city, you shall set the city on fire, doing as the Lord has bidden. See, I have commanded you. So Joshua sent them forth. They went to the place of ambush, lay between Bethel and Ai to the west of Ai. But Joshua spent that night among the people. And Joshua arose early in the morning and mustered the people and went up with the elders of Israel before the people of Ai. And all the fighting men who were with him went up and drew near before the city, encamped on the north side of Ai with a ravine between them and Ai. And he took about 5,000 men, sent them in ambush between Bethel and Ai to the west of the city. So they stationed the forces, the main encampment, which was north of the city, and its rear guard west of the city. But Joshua spent that night in the valley. And when the king of Ai saw this, he and all his people, the men of the city, made haste and went out early to descent towards the Arabah to meet Israel in battle. But he did not know that there was an ambush against him behind the city. As Joshua and all Israel made a pretense of being beaten before them and fled. Okay, Joshua and all Israel made a pretense of being beaten before them and fled in the direction of wilderness. So all the people who were in the city were called together to pursue them. And as they pursued Joshua, they were drawn away from the city. There's not a man left in Ai or Bethel who did not go after Israel. They left the city open and pursued Israel. Guerrilla tactics right here. It's ambushing these I guess it's the I. Yeah, just capturing I. I feel like I'm not pronouncing that right. I just don't know how to pronounce two vowels. Kind of difficult. Then the Lord said to Joshua, stretch out the javelin that is in your hands towards Ai, for I will give it into your hand. And Joshua stretched out the javelin in his hand towards the city. The ambush rose quickly out of their place, and as soon as he had stretched out his hand, they ran and entered the city and took it. They made haste to set the city on fire. So when the men of Ai looked back, behold, the smoke of the city went up to heaven, and they had no power to flee this way or that. For the people that fled to the wilderness turned back upon the pursuers. And when Joshua and all Israel saw that the ambush had taken the city and that the smoke of the city went up, they turned back and smote the men of Ai. And the others came forth from the city against them. So they were in the midst of Israel, some on this side, some on that side, and Israel smote them until there was none left that survived or escaped. But the king of Ai they took alive and brought to Joshua. When Israel had finished slaughtering all the inhabitants of Ai in the open wilderness where they pursued them, and all of them, to the very last, had fallen by the edge of the sword, all Israel turned to Ai and smote it with the edge of a sword. The sword. I think they have different swords. I think it's a proverbial sword. We are reading Proverbs. It's probably proverbial, a lot of the stuff. And all who fell that day, both men and women, were 12,000, all the people of Ai, for Joshua did not draw back his hand, which he stretched out the javelin until he had utterly destroyed all the inhabitants of Ai. Only the cattle and the spoil of the city of Israel took as their booty, according to the word of the Lord, which he had commanded Joshua. So Joshua burned Ai, made it forever a heap of ruins as it is to this day. He hanged the king of Ai on a tree until evening, and going down of the sun, at the going down of the sun. So when it was the sun setting, Joshua commanded, and they took his body down from the tree, cast it at the entrance of the gate of the city, and raised over it a great heap of stones, which stands there to this day. I don't know if it still does. When they wrote this, there's probably a heap of stones with dead Josh underneath. Well, I mean, dead Ai underneath. Josh is the one who killed him. Joshua renews the covenant. Then Joshua built an altar on Mount Ebal to the Lord, the God of Israel, as Moses, the servant of the Lord, commanded people of Israel, as it is written in the book of Moses, the book of law of Moses, which we just read. I think Deuteronomy is the law book. That's where they actually go into the how you make it laws. An altar of unhewn stones, upon which no man has lifted an iron tool. I mean, obviously, Exodus is the 10 Commandments, which are the basis for the laws, but what we read the last two in Deuteronomy is the legal system. It's interesting when you get to further things and you see how we make. Yeah, so we're 260. We got like 1,700 pages. I go through like 10 to 20 in an hour if I'm reading it out loud. So it's going to take a while. I'm trying to do one a day. Okay, so he's making the thing with unhewn stones. Joshua built the altar as Moses commanded the people, as it is written in the book of the law of Moses, an altar of unhewn stones upon which no man has lifted an iron tool. They offered it on the burnt offerings to the Lord and sacrificed peace offerings. And there, in the presence of people of Israel, he wrote upon stones a copy of the law of Moses, which he had written. And all Israel, sojourner as well as homeborn, with their elders and officers and their judges, stood opposite sides of the ark before the Levitical priests who carried the ark of the covenant of the Lord, half of them in Mount Gerizim, half of them in Mount Ebal. And Moses, the servant of the Lord, commanded them at first that they should bless all people of Israel. Afterward, he read all words of the law, the blessing and the curse, according to all that is written in the book of law. There was not a word of Moses of all that Moses commanded him. There's not a word of all Moses commanded which Joshua did not read before the assembly of Israel, the women, the little ones, and the sojourners who lived among them. The Gibeonites saved themselves by trickery. Oh, this is fun. When the kings were beyond the Jordan, in the hill, you fucking Gibeonites. I don't know. I think it's fun. I think the Bible is actually a funny book. I mean, it's I don't know. To me, it's more interesting than whatever, Lord of the Rings, science fiction. It's I don't know. I just find it compelling. When all of the kings were beyond the Jordan in the hill country and all the lowland along the coast of the Great Sea toward Lebanon, the Hittites, the Amorites, Canaanites, Perizzites, Hivites, Jebusites heard of this. They gathered together with one accord to fight Joshua and Israel. But when good luck, Gibeonites, you know the favor of the Lord. When the inhabitants of Gibeon heard what Joshua had said to Jericho and to Ai, what they'd done. So Joshua killed Jericho and Ai. So when Gibeon heard this, they on their part acted with cunning and went and made ready provisions and took worn out sacks upon their asses and wineskins, worn out, torn, and mended. Okay, so they took old sacks and put it around their donkeys and their wineskins with worn out patched sandals on their feet, worn out clothes, all the provisions were dry and moldy. And they went to Joshua at the camp Gilgal said to the men of Israel, we have come from a far country. So now make covenant with us. But men of Israel said to the Hivites, perhaps you live among us, then how can we make a covenant with you? Perhaps you live among us, then how can we make a covenant with you? So, we don't trust you, basically. They said to Joshua, we are your servants. And Joshua said to them, who are you? Where do you come from? They said to him, from a very far country, your servants have come because the name of the Lord your God, for we have heard report of him and all that he did in Egypt, and all that he did to the two kings of the Amorites who were beyond the Jordan, Sihon, the king of Heshbon, Og, the king of Bashan, who dwelt in Asheroth. Our elders and all inhabitants of our country said, take provisions in your hand for the journey and go to meet them, and say to them, we are your servants, come now, make a covenant with us. This is a good strategy. He just saw that these other civilizations are getting brutally murdered, and he's going to try to just surrender, essentially. Just be like, here, what do you want us to do? We'll be your slaves. Here is our bread. It is still warm when we took it from our houses, and our food for the journey. On the day we set forth to come to you, but behold, now it is dry and moldy. These wineskins were new when we filled them, and behold, they are burst. These garments and shoes are worn out from the long journey. So the men partook of their provisions and did not ask direction from the Lord. And Joshua made peace with them and made a covenant with them to let them live, and the leaders of the congregation swore to them. At the end of 3 days after the covenant was made with them, they heard that they were their neighbors and that they dwelt among them. And the people of Israel set out and reached their cities on the 3rd day. Now their cities were Gibeon, Shepherah, Beeroth, and Kiriath Jearim. But the people of Israel did not kill them, because the leaders of the congregation had sworn by them to the Lord God of Israel. Then all the congregation murmured against the leaders. But all the leaders said to all of the congregation, we have sworn to them by Lord, the God of Israel. Now we may not touch them. This we will do to them. This we will do to them, and let them live, lest wrath be upon us because of the oath which we swore to them. And the leaders said, let them live. So they became hewers of wood, drawers of water for all congregation, and the leaders had said of them, as the leaders had said of them. Joshua summoned them, and he said to them, why did you deceive us, saying we are very far when you dwell among us? Now, therefore, you are cursed, and some of you shall always be slaves, hewers of wood, drawers of water, for the house of my God. Carry water, right? They answered Joshua, chop wood, carry water, guys. Because it was told to your servants for a certainty, the Lord your God had commanded you, his servant Moses, to give you all the land and destroy all the inhabitants of the land before you. So we feared greatly for our lives because of this thing and did this thing. That's understandable. They're like, we didn't want you to brutally murder all of us, so we would rather serve you. And now, behold, that's a betrayal. Now, behold, we are in your hand. Do as it seems good and right in your sight to us. So he did to them and delivered them out of the hand of the people of Israel. They did not kill them, but Joshua made them that day hewers of wood, drawers of water, chop wood, carry water, guys, for the congregation, for the altar of the Lord, to continue to this day in the place which he should choose. I think we have time for sun stand still. When Adonizedek, the king of Jerusalem, heard how Joshua had taken Ai, had utterly destroyed it, doing to Ai and its king as he had done to Jericho and its king, and how the inhabitants of Gibeon made peace with Israel, and were among them. Okay. He feared greatly because Gibeon was a great city, like one of the royal cities, because it was greater than Ai, and its men were mighty. So Adonizedek, king of Jerusalem, sent to Hoham, the king of Hebron, to Piram of Jarmuth, the Japhia king of Lachish, and to the Debir king of Elgon, come up to me and help me. Let us smite Gibeon, for it has made peace with Joshua and the peace of Israel. Then the 5 kings of the Amorites, the king of Jerusalem, the king of Hebron, the king of Jarmuth, the king of Lachish, king of Eglon, gathered their forces, went up to their armies and encamped against Gibeon and made war against it. All the men of Gibeon sent to Joshua at the camp of Gilgal, saying, "Do not relax your hand from your servants. Come up to us quickly and save us, and help us. All the kings that dwelt with the Amorites in the hill country are gathered against us." So Joshua went up from Gilgal, he and all the people of war with him, and all the mighty men of valor. And the Lord said to Joshua, "Do not fear, for I have given them into your hands, saying, You shall not a man of them stand before you." So Joshua came up suddenly, having marched up all night from Gilgal, and the Lord threw them into a panic before Israel, who slew them with great slaughter at Gibeon, and chased them by the way of the ascent of Beth-horon, and smote them as far as Azekah and Makkedah. As they fled before Israel, while they were going down the ascent of Beth-horon, the Lord threw down great stones from heaven upon them as far as Azekah, and they died. There were more who died because of the hailstones than the men Israel killed with a sword. So God threw down stones to kill these people. Then spoke Joshua to the Lord the day which the Lord gave the Amorites over to the men of Israel. He said in the sight of Israel, "Sun, stand thou still at Gibeon, and thou moon in the valley of Aijalon." The sun stood still and the moon stayed. Okay. So he commanded the sun and the moon to stay still, and they did. The sun stood still and the moon stayed until the nation took vengeance on their enemies. Is this not written in the book of Jashar? The sun stayed in the midst of the heaven and did not hasten to go down for about a whole day. There had been no day like it before or since, when the Lord hearkened to the voice of the man, for the Lord fought for Israel. Then Joshua returned, and all Israel with him at the camp Gilgal. That's fun. I went over an hour, but that's just fun. He made the day long. He literally made the day. He made it daytime for 24 hours just so that they could slaughter these people who surrendered to them. Yeah, I'm enjoying this. This is a lot of fun, guys. Shout, religious people. They got some fun stuff going on. It's like it's like cosplay. I'm just waiting for it to be one of three. How have you guys been? I was having a rough day yesterday. Today I'm like, go get him, champ. Go get him, champion. I just feel incredible. I love Sunday mornings. I'm a morning person. I need to start doing these in the mornings. I'll just wait till like nobody's subscribed. I should have 3 subscribers at some point. Bye. Love you.